Hello and welcome to this News and Rumours video with me, Mark, on the Xenovids channel. So what I'm going to do is look at the news and rumours for this week, and any news and rumours I've got to talk about my own personal experiences this week. Okay, first things first, Warhammer 40k news. It was the Nova tournament. I think it's in America, the Nova tournament, and it's over now, and they've just compiled the lists of who are the winners, and what armies they have. So I've got a few of the army lists up, so I can show you, and it's very interesting. Ian and I normally play a very pure army. We never really have allies unless it's in a narrative campaign. Now, it does mean that our battles, there's an area of our battles we just haven't unlocked. We just haven't thought of being like one of the armies, demons and Imperial Knights. It does mean you can have more versatility with your hobby, but for us, we are the old-fashioned gamers, I'd say. You have your army, and you can only ally if we agree to it, a specialised mission. But let's take a look at the armies itself in here. Okay, so, posted by Tasty Taste, 180 players took part in the Nova Open, and this is the first Warhammer 40k tournament using 7th edition rules. That's very important. It gives us an idea of the super elite competitive players and how they created the list and see who has won. So, the winner seems to be Eldar Wave Serpent Span again. I've said it before, I think Tau and Eldar's codexes were the best ones to come out of 6th edition, and they are still one of the best ones in 7th edition. So looking at the overall champion, Tony Kopach, it's like an Autarch. It's got 6 Fire Dragons in a Wave Serpent, another 6 Fire Dragons in a Wave Serpent, so that's going to be your anti-tank, anti-vehicle Malarkeys. Die Avengers Wave Serpent, Die Avengers Wave Serpent, Die Avengers Wave Serpent. 2 units of Swooping Hawks, again Swooping Hawks, Haywire Grenades, they deep strike, they don't scatter. Good Eldar Trickery, they're almost a kamikaze unit every time, but they are guaranteed to take down those vehicles. Wraith Knight, pretty standard. Wraith Knights are amazing. Strength 10, Toughness 8, 6 wounds. I always take one in my lists. And then 2 Night Spinners to kind of take out the troops. Having such an elite Eldar force means that they can't take out those big troops, and the Night Spinners are just perfect for that. So that was number 1. Second was another Eldar list, Iron, from Thomas Donsland. Farseer, Spirit Seer, Spirit Seer, Spirit Seer, Spirit Seer. Windrider Jet Bikes, Windrider Jet Bikes, Die Avenger Wave Serpent, Die Avenger Wave Serpent, Wraith Knight, and then it's allied with the Dark Eldar Baron and some Beastmasters again. I've seen that used a lot with Dark Eldar. I've been doing a bit of research for my own army, but the rumours are Baron's not going to be in the new codex, so I won't bother talking about him. Third place was Imperial Knights, allied with Demons. So you had a Herald of Tzeentch, Herald of Tzeentch, it was Herald of Tzeentch, Pink Horrors of Tzeentch, Pink Horrors of Tzeentch, Screamers of Tzeentch, a Soul Grinder, and then a Knight Paladin, Knight Errant to top it off. So they're going to dominate a lot of Psychers, the Psychic phase, I should say, and again, deal with what Tzeentch does best, and then you have 2 Imperial Knights just to be badass, and they are killer to remove from play, and if you can't, then you're going to have these Tzeentch things summoning all these demons on. Even if you perils once or twice, they're still going to summon at least 3 units with this. So, honorable mention is for 8th place, a mostly Dark Eldar list, which kind of gives me an idea of what's good. The Nova thing was 1850 points. It does have an allies of about 500-ish points with a Wraith Knight, Guardians, and a Farseer. but it does give me an idea of what is deemed as strong, competitive, and it'll give me a basis to compare to the Dark Elder Codex when it does come out, rumoured the end of September. So yeah, that was the tournament news. A huge one that came out, I disregarded it a few weeks ago, thinking that 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy is coming out next year, which would have made sense. GW would have focused on Dark Eldar September, a couple of more things, and then The Hobbit. No. Apparently 9th edition pre-orders are just around the corner. Just got some news from this source and several sources concerning the strong possibility of 9th edition fantasy. Island of Blood sets disappearing, Bretonians being a heavy part to the new huge thing that's been released recently, the Nagash saga, which has come out, and those models look excellent. So, I don't know. There's going to be 25 new paints from Games Workshop coming out. Dark Eldar are a possibility now, and then there's always the Hobbit release. But having this come in, I don't know. If Fantasy does come along, then that blows up my plans for waiting for it to be next year for my armies. But I've always said I'll start my Fantasy armies next year. 2015 will be when you start seeing Fantasy battle reports. But it'll give me some time to look over the rules, I suppose. But still, I honestly thought Games Workshop were going to be working on 40k. Again, this is a rumour, so I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. But that's a big deal for Games Workshop if they bring 9th edition Fantasy out before Christmas. Okay, Warhammer Fantasy got a big boost, something kind of cool come out, and it is Nagash, essentially. Nagash, Supreme Lord of the Undead. Now, anyone who remembers Nagash can remember this horrible model that isn't worth talking about. Now, it is just amazing. You have the £65 model, which, in my opinion, yes, the model is beautiful. It is big. It's about yay high, good, I think 10 inches big in height, and it's on one of those big monster bases you've got in Fantasy. But £65 for a single model is a bit insane for me. That's just crazy. Again, 40k have the Wraith Knights at about 70 and stuff like that. And the Imperial Knights around similar prices, but it's huge. And if this is the thing, Games Workshop are just going to make bigger models, beautiful models, but they're going to be bigger, and it's going to be one of those hobbies where if you have more money than me, then you're going to win any game because you're going to bring these big bad boys to the table. But the models are stunning. There's Nagash, there is Neferita, the Mortek of Blood, Manfred von Carstein, who I think is the best looking of the bunch, and then you've got Arkham the Black. All three of them, they're 48 quid, so you can have all of them essentially for over 200 quid. You've got all these new things, which is probably the same for one army is cost-wise financially. And I did see in the latest White Dwarf that it was essentially an army versus Nagash, and Nagash seemed to hold his own and do very well with that. But the models look great, but it's the price tag, I guess. If you spend like £200 on an army, you kind of, like a battle force and all these bits, you kind of see it progressing and you kind of make it worthwhile in your head, thinking, you know what? I've spent this much money, but I've spent this much money and I can see it with this vast amount of models that I've taken the time to do. With Nagash, it's a huge, huge model that you have to work very hard to make it look good. It's one of those where if you do a couple of mistakes, it's going to be horrendous for the general aesthetic of the entire model, and you have to be immaculately detailed in everything you do with this model. But again, £65 for a single model in Fantasy. Is it worth it for all you undead players? Definitely. For anyone else, if you enjoy the model, yes. But then you have to get the £50 Legash, 392 pages of epic narrative and rules for your games of Warhammer, presented over 2 stunning volumes. The end of the world has never looked so good. Next news, I want to thank Jonathan. This week I released a battle report, Orcs versus Tyranids. He contacted me on the Facebook version of Xenovids and said that he's in the Cambridge area, and if I lived in the general area of him, which I did. Funnily enough, we lived in the same village and never knew each other. And I went around his, and he's got an amazing garage which is just dedicated to Warhammer 40k and Fantasy. He's got a lovely board on there with lots of scenery. He's got so many different armies, which is great because Ian and I and some of our friends don't have these armies, such as Orcs and Blood Angels, and he does. And he's a different player to what I'm used to, and I underestimated his Orcs a little bit, I think, and due to time constraints and stuff, he may have done very well against my Tyranids. Go and watch that video, and you'll see what I'm on about. I'd like to thank you, Jonathan, for the great battle. I had a lot of fun. You're a top-class guy, and anyone in the Cambridge area that wants to battle me, get in contact with me. Either leave a comment in the chat on the channel, and then or on the Facebook, and we'll see what I can do. If you've got a space with a board or table that we can fill 40k stuff on, there's a chance I'll come and battle you. And the last thing is, I'm doing my Dark Elder army, and I don't know if I'm going to take it to our Christmas Cup tournament, but I am going to be painting that and a few other models from now until Christmas. Plus, I've got a birthday coming up in October, which is good. So I've written my list of all the models that I want and boxes I want. If anyone's feeling generous, they can always get me a present. And so I've got a lot of things to be doing paint-wise. So I've decided to do a bit of a trial show where I will be painting some models, and it'll be a kind of sit and talk where I get to talk about the models, anything I've seen recently about the hobby or how it's been going in the week, really. So if you have any questions for me, for the channel, for myself or Ian, then leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll write them all out, have them tallied up, and while I'm painting my models, you can sit down and paint with me. If you've left a comment, I'll definitely answer it. It can be about 40k related, or pretty much anything else. It's good to kind of get a bit of variety and have one of those videos where you can sit back and just sit along and paint, because I'm noticing there's a lot of battle reports, but there's not a lot of videos where you can just sit down, paint, and have just someone talking to you and just answering your comments, for example. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Mark on the Xenovids channel, and I will see you on my next video.